Hello everybody, so this is probably the first and only video in English on this channel. The reason for which I wanted to do this English is first of all because one of you actually asked me to do a video in English a long time ago. I got a question of subtitling my videos as well in my latest Q&A, so I decided why not, let's give it a go. Realizing that this was not going to be everybody's cup of tea to begin with, I decided to talk about a book that is not going to be everybody's cup of tea either. So today I'm going to talk to you about a James Joyce book, namely A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that at the end of last year I read this bad boy, and this is Ulysses. Although it made top 10 of 2015 for me, back then I said something like, I really enjoyed the book. For the writing style, I was really impressed with it, I really admire it. However, I was not that hooked by the plot line or by the characters necessarily, so I didn't really enjoy the book in itself, but more the writing style and the technique of it. There was one character in this book that I really enjoyed while reading Ulysses, and that was the character of Stephen. So when I was told that this one actually follows Stephen as the main character, I decided to give it a go as well. I have to be honest, I've had this book on my shelf for I think 2 years now, but I never had the guts to actually start reading it. However, I'm extremely happy that I finally gathered the courage to do it, because I absolutely adored it. It was very good. Before I start rambling about all the things that I loved about this book, let me just give you a very quick overview. So this novel follows this boy Stephen from his very early years, from when he was a child, up to his 20s basically. What we know of him is that he comes from a very conservative, in a way, Irish background. Obviously, I know nothing about Irish families or the situation in the 20th century from the point of view of religion and social aspects in Ireland. I still don't know anything about it now. It becomes very clear from the get-go that religion is going to play a very important role in this book. As I said, we witnessed his school years, his first love, his first sexual experiences, and later his later teens and early 20s. Nothing really spectacular happens to Stephen in the sense that he does not go in this great adventure, or nothing really happens to him. He doesn't have any sort of disease or anything like that. This is exactly what I loved about this book. The fact that it does not imply any sort of life-changing events in the classical sense of the word. I absolutely love the fact that I was able to focus on what happens in his mind and in his soul, but especially in his mind as he becomes a man. There's a lot of episodes that influence Stephen from his very early years to his later teens that are extremely powerful in this book. So the first one that drew my attention was obviously a moment when he was in school and he gets blamed for something that he hadn't done. And the priests in his school are so horrible and so judgmental and so petty that you cannot help but feel for Stephen. And I think that this is another thing that I loved very much. There are a lot of moments when I could sympathize with this boy and later teen and later man in such a powerful and incredible way. You really feel for Stephen, although maybe sometimes you don't agree with him, but you cannot help but feel for him and feel with him, and that's amazing. How religious influence follows him through his teen years, because, for example, at one point he had started visiting these girls. There's this moment when one of the priests gives such a powerful speech and such a powerful preach actually, that he becomes so guilty, he feels so guilty that he ends up being this extremely religious person. This is the bit that I didn't really like that much, but then later on his mind starts working again, to put it like that. We see him turn into this man that can actually judge things for himself and not be that influenced by those around him. Other than the spiritual journey that Stephen undertakes, what I absolutely adored about this book is the intellectual side of it. There's a lot of talk about literature and poets and who is the best poet in the world. And I love this bit where at some point Stephen and his friends get into a fight about who is the best poet in the world. And it just goes to show that he was in this very nice environment of students, of people who enjoyed fine things, obviously not all of them, but you have this group of boys that can actually talk philosophy and talk art and talk literature, which is something that I really appreciate. It doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen very often in books either, but it's something that I really like. These are just a few of the things that I absolutely adored about this book. Very nice read, it's not at all as difficult as This Monster. Very poetic, but not excessively, so it's not obscure at all. Perfectly honest, when I started reading it, I was very afraid, and I was extremely skeptical even. And I was sure that it was going to be just as annoying as Ulysses was. However, it was not. I really enjoyed it. 5 out of 5 on Goodreads for sure. I think that if you're scared of Joyce, like I am, or was, or am, I don't know, I think that this is a very good start because it's, as I said, it's not as obscure as Ulysses, for example, or as I hear Finnegan's Wake, which I'm not going to read anytime soon. It's very nice. It's a very good classic. I think it might be up there with one of my favorite classics, and my favorite being The Picture of Dorian Gray. I absolutely adore Stephen. He's an amazing character. You feel right there with him all the way through, and I adore that. So I absolutely recommend it wholeheartedly. Loved it. Okay, so that was it for today. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you read this book, let me know in the comments what you thought about it, and if you suggest any other of his books, let me know as well. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, do not fret, this is probably the only video in English that I will ever post, so we'll go back to Romanian shortly. However, I really hope that you enjoyed it. See you soon. Bye!